What is going on, guys? My name is Lithius and welcome to Roots Ready. It's summertime and this is the growing season. This is the season that your plants have been waiting for, a lot of them, where they're going to start to kick it into overdrive, pedal to the metal, and they're going to go for it. They're going to start blooming, they're going to start growing, they're going to start doing stuff. Your plants are going to be working hard, and in order to make sure that you're doing your part and supporting them and their growth, I've got 5 tips for you on how to care for your plants during the summer months. Tip number 1, and I think it's going to be the most obvious one, is watering. It's hotter and your plants are also feeling the heat, right? They're sweating, metaphorically speaking. Your plants are doing a lot more growing in this time, right? They're really pushing out growth, and that's because there's more sunlight, the days are slightly longer, your plants are going to be photosynthesizing a lot more, which means that they're going to be using up water a lot more frequently. Not only that, but it's also hot, right? So the water that you're watering your plants with in the soil tends to evaporate a little bit quicker than it would in cooler months. Tip number 1 is ensure that you're checking on your plants a lot more frequently. Now, I can't tell you how often to water your plants. For me, I tend to study my plants and understand which plants need more water than others. So for example, this peace lily over here, it loves water. It absolutely loves it. In the winter, it still loves its water. It doesn't like to go dry like some other plants that like to go for that wet dry cycle. Peace lilies tend not to be like that and like to have constant access to water. But when it's hot, it evaporates a lot more quickly. So I find myself having to water my plants a lot more frequently. So I know this about the peace lily, and I understand that it likes water a lot more. So the composition of the soil in this pot tends to be a lot more water retentive, so it holds on to a lot more moisture. My other plants, like my cacti or my philodendron, those plants like to have a bit of a wet dry cycle, so the soil tends to be a lot more porous, so it doesn't hold on to as much water. The water can drain through and the plant can get what it needs. So knowing what the plant likes and understanding my environment, I change the soil composition depending on the plant's needs, and I do it so it kind of on average allows me to water my plants once a week, and that's kind of how I've done it. So I've tried to do it in a way that I can water my plants consistently on a schedule. This might not work for you if you haven't done that, so make sure that you're actually going in and checking. You can use the finger test, stick your finger in the soil, see if it's moist. You can use a wooden chopstick, stick it in the soil, pull it out. If there's anything stuck on there, it shows that there's moisture in there. If it's quite dry and the soil falls off, that tells you that the plant probably needs a bit of water. Tip number 2 ties into tip number 1. It's around watering, but it's about controlling it. So for example, I've got my variegated peace lily here. Similar to the normal peace lily that I've just shown, these plants, they love water. They don't like to dry out. They will definitely tell you about it. They'll start to wilt very quickly when their soil becomes dry. So what I've done, and it might not be the most pretty thing to do, the most aesthetically pleasing thing to do, so you might find a different approach to this, but what I do for the sensitive plants, I stick it in a bag. Right, so this peace lily is in a bag and I'm able to water this plant, keep a little tiny reservoir in here, but the bag also prevents the water in the soil evaporating as quickly as it would if it was uncovered. This, as I said, is not the prettiest thing, and you can find ways to make it look a lot prettier for it to fit into your collection, but for me, I'm a very practical person. I don't mind the bag as much. I might find a way in the future to make it look a bit nicer, but this serves another purpose. In the summer, you're probably more likely to go on vacation, on holiday, be away from your plants a little bit. And to support that, one of the things that I also do is I put a bit of cling film or plastic wrap over the top of my plants. An example is this one. This is my avocado bonsai, the waterfall style. I always just constantly, all the time, have a plastic wrap over this, again, to slow the evaporation. I find that the avocado plants don't like to go without water for a long period of time, so I definitely keep that covered, and it helps me so much when I go on holiday because I don't have to worry about it too much. I can almost set it and forget it, give the plant a good watering before I head out for a week or 2, and I can rest assured, or a little bit more, that the plant is going to be okay whilst I'm away. As I've said, this is the growing season for your plants, so they're trying to grow as much as possible. They're taking advantage of the extra sunlight, the longer days, and they're putting that into growth. So support your plants by fertilizing more regularly. Of course, follow the instructions on the bottle. You don't want to over fertilize because that can actually cause more harm than looking good, but ensure that you're trying to keep your plants on a schedule. During the summer, I have experimented this time and this time only, this year only, fertilizing every watering. And I don't know if I've seen any massive differences. I think I've seen some where the plant's actually producing more inflorescences in the case of my anthuriums. I have noticed a little bit extra leaf growth, and also some plants are actually producing little offshoots that they never did before. So it's something I'll keep an eye on. I definitely want to make sure that I'm not over fertilizing. At very best, I would say try to fertilize every other watering, and during the winter season, you can pull back on that. But in the summer, definitely try to pick that up and provide as much fertilization to your plants as recommended. Your plants are growing fast, and so are these pests. These pests are going to try to take advantage as well. They see the growth and they get hungry, and they're going to want a piece of it as well. So keep an eye out for pests. I try to do a lot of prevention work. You can use a whole range of options. This year, for the first time, I'm trying out systemics. So that's just a sort of a granule. I haven't got the bottle with me. I would have shown you. I use a granule. I put it in the soil, mix it up a little bit, water it through, and then the idea is that the plant absorbs the material into its system, and any pests that try to chew on its roots or on the leaves ingest that, and then they die. So that's one approach. There's a lot of chemical pesticides that you can also use, but you can also use natural ones as well. For me, I use a little bit of neem oil, water, and a little bit of insecticidal soap. That just helps it emulsify and helps you spray better. And I go around and I spray my leaves of my plants at least once a month, and that just helps me to prevent or reduce the amount of pests. Two of the biggest pests for me that I deal with, the first one being fungus gnats. That one is always an issue for a lot of people if you're growing your plants in soil. That can be easily remedied by using something like a mosquito bit that you can put into the soil or mix it in some water. That gets rid of the, I think it's a bacteria or something that kills the fungus gnats, the larvae, and that disrupts the life cycle. That works quite well. The systemic that I'm trialing this time also claims to work on fungus gnats, and to be honest, I've seen quite a reduction. I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 fungus gnats in the past couple of days since I've started to use this. Another pest that I deal with regularly are spider mites. Oh my goodness, they love my euphorbia, and they love philodendron. I don't know what it is. It must be some goodness in those leaves that they just absolutely love. One of the things, I can't remember where I saw this, but I think it was on a random YouTube video that I stumbled across, or whether it was on Instagram or something. I saw somebody talk about using this. This is a sort of a miticide. So people tend to use these on pets. So you can use a drop on like a dog. On this one, this is a bird one. So I imagine the dose is going to be a lot less or less intense for a smaller animal. They say they put a couple of drops into some water and it works. So I decided to give it a go. I got myself a miticide, this one in particular. This is the Avizol brand. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. The dosage on this one is 2 drops per bird. How heavy is a bird? I don't imagine it's going to be very heavy. So I did 2 drops in a 2-liter sprayer of water, and I went ahead and I did a test spray, waited a couple of days, didn't see any damage, went back in and I sprayed the whole load of my plants, everything around here, just to make sure that I get rid of the spider mites. And I kid you not, guys, I kid you not, I haven't seen any spider mites in this area. These 2 plants, right, these 2 philodendron were covered in spider mite. This one, you can see the leaf is kind of curled up because of the damage. This was a leaf that came completely damaged, absolutely just destroyed. There were loads of spider webs in the creases. Sprayed these plants down, and there are no more spider mites. I think we have to remember that spider mites, they aren't really spiders, they're actually mites, right? So if you find something like a miticide, that should, in theory, this was my thinking, that should help to kill them. And it has been successful. I haven't noticed any spider mites on my plants at all. It didn't damage any of my plants, which is a great plus. It's only a tiny bottle, but because you're using 1 or 2 drops at a time, it's gonna last forever. So that is something I'm gonna keep playing with. Let me try it first. I'm gonna keep using it on my plants, and if there's any negative consequences, I will let you know. I'll keep you updated. But as a trial, it's been successful. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. I'm not suggesting that you go out there and drench your plants in this miticide. I say take it easy. Let me trial it first, but so far so good. It's looking really good. I mean, look, this is a new leaf since I sprayed the plants, and look at that, no damage. I mean, there's a little rip there, but apart from that, no pest damage that I can see at all. This plant was really damaged, but that's completely stopped now, which is a really good sign. My final tip is to use use this time to start to repot your plants. Your plants are trying to grow. They're going to be bursting at the edges, I'm sure. I'm sure if you look at some of the roots of some of your plants, they're going to be all over the place. This is the time to look at the plants, to get involved, get stuck in and repot. Get it into a slightly bigger pot. Don't go crazy. Don't double the pot size. That's never good. Always try to go maybe 1 or 2 sizes up. I try to go 2 sizes up. That gives me at least a growing season, 2 growing seasons to let the plant establish itself again. Anything bigger and it's almost like there's too much soil and the water is going to be stuck in soil that the plant can't quite get the water out in time. So you want to make sure that you're only using a pot that's appropriate for the size of the plant. Don't go crazy and put a tiny plant in a massive pot. That's not going to work out well for you. So trust me, use this time, repot your plants, do it sensibly. And when you are doing so, make sure that you're giving your plants access to a lot of oxygen. You want to aerate that soil. Use a lot of big granular pieces, sand. You can use a semi-hydro mix, leca, orchid bark, all of these different things. Try to use them to get a good quality soil mix for your plants. Those are my top tips for the summer. Let me know what you think below. What are the things that you do that you think are crucial to keeping your plants happy at this time of year? I would love to hear it in the comments below. But that's all. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, keep planting.